What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers. Subscribe to our Patreon for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. I want to preface this by saying I'm not angry. I was not so seething. I changed the tie I was wearing out for my skull and crossbones tie and go looking for a range that would remain open long enough for me to shoot enough bullets to cause financial harm to myself. I did not fail in that effort and then be attacked by a physical sensation that made me duck into a gas station and take an ulcer, anger, stress shit. None of these things happened. And none of these things happened because I'm not biting the skin off my fingers angry. It's very funny. So I canceled the civic engagement initiative following life bullshit, but I was also a little too happy about that because when I had the opportunity to start doing civic stuff in advance, I didn't because I was a pussy, I was scared. So this month I went in the other direction, the self-punishment direction, and forced myself into situations like these just to prove to myself that I was capable of doing them, that I'm not actually a pussy all the time. City council meetings are both exactly what I was expecting them to be and not at all what I was expecting them to be. Your governing body feels like a courthouse. It was depression and ugliness in a timely and orderly manner. I was shocked by how timely and orderly everything was. I was not expecting that at all. They have time set aside special for the browbeating and humiliation skirmishes. It was cold, it felt like everybody hated one another, and in the times they were allowed to interact like humans, they demonstrated they did. And it's weird how small the percentages are when you're considering the fact this small number of people is making decisions for everybody else. And I didn't realize how much power local governments have over the people they rule over. I'd never even heard of half of these licenses, but it seems like to do just about anything legally, you need to be approved by this governing body, and none of this stuff is up to votes. I'm guessing this got here because people voted to allow them to make all their decisions for them. So, another instance, we get what we deserve, but I will say, if nothing else, shockingly, and maybe it's different in other meetings, maybe I just stumbled into one of the good ones, that is a clean burning hell. I had a boomer moment. I looked at the agenda and said, my name's going to be on that agenda one day. And I've also attended 2 nonprofit board meetings, one of which I got out of a little while ago. Well, not a little while ago, earlier this evening. And I learned a whole lot. In the first instance, I learned how bad things could be. And working in nonprofits, you're aware of how hard up really small nonprofits can be, but it's different when you see it. Really nice people, spectacular human beings, trying to make a difference, and getting nowhere. Getting fucked in every hole they have. And these are the organizations that are desperate for people to help them because they need help. You'll notice larger organizations, more successful organizations, they're looking for volunteers. If you want to help, I mean, they want your help, but they want you to be a soldier who doesn't know anything and does only what they're told when they're told to do it. The least successful of all nonprofits are the ones that exist because some people want to help people who need help. So of course they're not going to be allowed to succeed. I joke about headlining at a gas station. You know, at least we have a gas station and someone to headline at it. And then I attended a meet or tried to attend a meeting, I should say, with a more successful nonprofit. And that was the more educational one and the funnier one. So I met their ED informally a while ago, and she invited me to attend one of their meetings because supposedly they're open to the public. Now, whether or not that's actually the case, I'm not sure. I've been operating under the assumption all nonprofits' board meetings, at least the not executive session parts, are open to the public at all times. Stupid of me to think that. And stupid of us, our organization, frankly, for allowing the public to come in and sit. And I really am not seething with rage because this proved a bunch of things for me. First, firstly, people will let you in anywhere if you look like you're supposed to be there. And you don't even need to say anything. There doesn't need to be an exchange of words. If you go somewhere looking like you're supposed to be there and feeling like you're supposed to be there, you will be let in. I'm pretty sure I was not supposed to be at this meeting. I grabbed an agenda, I sat down, I started looking through it. Some people looked confused but didn't say anything. Other people went straight into passive-aggressive skirmishing, like the moment I walk in there. White person, old white bitch passive aggression, and I'm really sick of white people. People say white people don't have culture. We do have culture, but it's not a material culture, it is an accumulation of spite and an expression of cowardice and spinelessness. Anyway, the ED notices me, has a deer in the headlights look, but doesn't say anything, and then the big dick shows up and asks me who I am and why I'm there. Important to remember in these moments, both for actually what you're doing and for your own self-assurance or whatever you want to call it. You're you, yes, but maybe only a fifth of you is you. The rest is your organization. Your organization is you. So you are this person of this position representing this organization, and you are here to do whatever you're here to do. And I was there to watch, and that's what I said. And when you speak with the confidence of someone not trying to convince but to inform, you hit people on a different level. And this is funny to me because I was not trying to do these things. And I probably wouldn't have thought about it if they hadn't countered. Because to counter, something needs to have been swung, and I didn't realize I was swinging. So they ask me to step out for a minute so they can discuss a couple things before they bring me back in because the meeting is beginning, which I understand. That's a little weird, a little disrespectful, but... And we've never done that. Our organization has guests semi-regularly, and we've never told anybody to get out. Or, better yet, we discuss it before the meeting begins. We show up early. Most people in their dumb fuck organization showed up on time, which means they're late. And one dude showed up late, which, why bother showing up at all, not to be cliche. But if you had showed up a little bit earlier, maybe you would be holding your agenda, and I wouldn't be holding the agenda I realized was printed for you, dumb fuck. And anyway, they said about 5 minutes. So 10 minutes pass. And I have my shit with me because I'm taking notes, and it's a little weird, a little annoyed, but I get it. I wish they would have kept it to 5 minutes, even though if it was going to be 10 minutes, then say 10 minutes. So I get up to take a piss, and the restroom is right next to their meeting room. And they see me walk past, and I wasn't eavesdropping, I could hear their voices. The moment I walk into the restroom, where presumably I would hear them clearer, their voices go silent. And I'm standing in the stall, which I piss in stalls because I got punched in the back of the head one time and never forgot it. I hear someone step into the restroom. Doesn't go to the urinal. Doesn't go to one of the stalls. Someone is just standing in the restroom listening to me, pissing. And at this point, I am feeling the disrespect strong and my suspicion is growing. So I'm not just gonna keep pissing and then we can have a conversation, whatever that conversation is gonna be when I come out. You can talk to me while my dick is swinging. What's going on? Actually, it's gonna be 15 minutes. And then he walks out and leaves, so I don't even get to see who was lurking in the restroom with me. But okay, so 15 more minutes after 5 minutes more than you said. 25 minutes of just sitting out in the lobby with my dick in my hand like a fucking toddler. Okay. Okay. I'm good with that. I can do that. And it was actually a good opportunity to review the agenda I was allowed to take, and then promptly threw away in their own trash can. Side note, auxiliary note, somewhat unrelated, you can look up any organizations, any tax exempt organizations' tax filings with the IRS. I didn't realize financials were not, or exact financials, more exact financials were not available. Which is convenient when an organization is doing shady shit. Which most nonprofits are, because most nonprofits are tied up in local businesses, local government. We've talked about this 100 times before, we won't go through it here. Anyway, typically for-profit organizations or legislating organizations will use nonprofits to do tax money stuff. The successful nonprofits are rarely, if ever, doing what they're supposed to be doing, or their mission statement is. That's almost never why a nonprofit exists. Because if a nonprofit is actually trying to make things better, that's their focus. That's what they are expending their resources and time on. They're not going to succeed. And in that way, nonprofits themselves typically are shadier than you would expect them to be. However, I didn't realize. Well, I mean, you realize the extent to the shadiness when you look at nonprofits and you have a little bit of an idea of how to look at nonprofits. But the shady shit they engage in for themselves is equally shocking. For example, let's say for a month an organization has $20,000 in liquidity, for example. I think that's the word. That's the money that you can use to pay payroll, right? So you can with $20,000 in the bank pay someone $4,000 a month to do what exactly? I'm not sure. But with no other expenses, that means you can pay this person's salary for only 4 or 5 more months, depending on when payroll happens. And you are going to have other expenses. And if you haven't gotten, or let's say your income this month was $200, you must have some kind of income machine that can afford to pay someone $4,000 a month without touching that $20,000 in liquidity. But where is it this month? That's a question someone might ask, framed in a less suspect way, if they were allowed to be in the meeting. But let's say you don't know how you would answer that question and you don't want anyone asking it, anyone outside your organization asking it, so you make them sit in the lobby. And for me, this was a bit of a smoking gun, because it's one thing to look at other organizations from the outside and compare to the way your organization operates and work out what they're doing, how they afforded this big fucking thing, where the money's coming from, or, oh, that's... You know, I know the name of the person who owns that construction company. They're on the board. That's, suspect. convenient, maybe would be the better word. That's really what it is. It's not suspect at all. It's convenient because that's just the way things work. But to show someone else cards that you have been keeping close to your vest, it's it's the height of incompetency and stupidity, really stupid. Now, I'm not saying this organization is doing anything suspect or criminal. Probably they're doing something immoral, but unfortunately, immorality is legal and encouraged a lot of the time. So maybe I'm just not on a level that I understand how this works properly yet. I'll get there. But the way this organization handled someone like me was really dumb. You don't disrespect someone after it's not even that they caught you, it's that you let yourself be caught. So I'm sitting there thinking about all this stuff, as in the fact their ED doesn't just work here. She works at another place too, so she's earning I was under the impression this was like one of those cheap, super low assets nonprofits that hire a part time director for a small sum of money because they can't afford anything else. This amount of money is not, or the amount of money I'm imagining is not a crazy amount of money, but as a supplementary salary. And then where is that money coming from? Because I know you aren't getting a lot of money in. This organization has a pretty bad reputation, and that's reflected in the ways people treat them. So, where's the money coming from? It's not coming from grants. And then to invite someone to come and see informally, and then shut them out when they get here without asking them to leave. I mean, if I had been asked to leave because this was a bad time or something, that would be a different story. To sit me in the lobby indefinitely, and that 15 minutes came and went, by the way. So I've been sitting here in this stink lobby for over 30 minutes, and I wasn't even really. I didn't show up here to watchdog or something like that. I'm I'm Kim Kitsuragi in this motherfucker. You want to make money? That's fine. I'm trying to figure out the way other organizations operate so I can work out how to make mine not die. And that was what I was invited here to do. And you're gonna send some fucking flunky in to listen to me piss? Because you're afraid I might be eavesdropping on you? So eventually I decided I was not going to take that disrespect. I walked into their meeting room, grabbed my jacket, and I left. Telling myself that I was going to look up the legality of what had happened there, because I was still under the assumption that non-profits meetings were all supposed to be open to the public in some fashion, which is difficult because most nonprofits lie on their minutes. So if you release minutes to the public, that doesn't really do anything. But I quickly learned, no, not all states require all nonprofits to have their meetings open to the public, and mine does not. So they were perfectly legally in their right to sit me in the lobby like a toddler. But even though it's legally allowed, which it's tricky. Even though it's legally allowed, it's still disrespectful and it's still dumb. You could have just asked me to leave. And I'm not going to do anything, but that's really agitating. Not that I'm mad or anything. But I did learn some good stuff. So, government-affiliated nonprofits are supposed to be open to the public. So if you want to drop in on some kind of civic meeting to practice and develop your connections and whatnot, city council meetings, city affiliated nonprofits like public libraries and whatnot. If you're going to try to attend nonprofits that are outside sunshine states, I think they're called, which are the ones that do force nonprofits to allow the public to enter. Thinking about it, all you would need to do to get an invitation is email somebody in there, get an invitation in writing, ask them to have an agenda, or not have an agenda ready for you. Oh, heavens no. Could you please get an agenda? You're trying to develop your understanding of how nonprofits work, and all you want to do is help. They hate you. They hate you intensely. They think you're retarded. Don't be afraid to play dumb. That'll get you anywhere you want to be faster by playing into their perception of you. Harder to do fucked up stuff, or, I mean, they'll still hide things if they know there's going to be oversight, but you can get in, and that's worth it. It's crazy to me that organizations that don't have to contribute taxes and are upheld by people, how is there no accountability outside the government, which, as we mentioned, there's a lot of convenience going on in there. How is the common man, how is noble Joe dipshit not allowed to oversee the way these organizations operate? Most organizations have zero qualifications for their board members. I don't like it. I don't like any of it. But I'm annoyed. I'm not angry. I'm left thinking about how much of an information game this game is. And it's all about soft skills. They made some stupid plays at the very beginning, but the sit in a lobby and then send someone into the bathroom to monitor me, those are two advanced levels of disrespect. I don't think it's just stupid. What can I be doing to up my information gathering game? What else can I be doing to disrespect people at a higher level? And what are the dirtiest ways we can play without dipping into illegality? Because you can get a lot dirtier than you think you can on the legal side of things. As long as you're careful and connected. As long as someone with money is getting more money or some other kind of benefit from dealing with you. Lots of things to think about. The mystery of the month is identifying the piss lurker. And for you, if you're having career concerns, get into nonprofits. You certainly will not be saving the world or making anything better most of the time, but it's an advanced and entertaining form of wage slavery. If you're getting paid the same, don't get paid to labor, get paid to learn how to manage laborers. That skill set will take you a lot further later on. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.